Headline, no tax on soda. It's a surprising statistic. Americans are depending on government assistance at a record level. 18.3% of America's income comes directly from government programs like Social Security, Medicare, food stamps, unemployment benefits, transfer payments. Meanwhile, minorities are still at a disadvantage in the investment area. Former NBA star Lawrence Funderburke is live with us from Ohio. You're a fan of this program, sir, so you can come on anytime you like, Lawrence. We got that straight.
Thanks for having me, Stu, as well as the crew. Yes, I am. I am a fan. I do watch quite often.
You just got an extra 5 minutes. Now, the question is, why don't minorities invest? I put that question to Marion Barry. He's the former mayor of Washington, D.C. He said he was disgusted by the question. He said it's because minorities don't have any money, not because blacks' leadership has said, hey, don't touch investing with a 10-foot pole. So I'll ask the question to you. Why don't minorities generally invest in markets?
Well, I think I did watch that segment, and I think African Americans, by and large, are very risk-averse. And they'll stick their money. I know, Charles, you talked a lot about this in the savings accounts, getting zero to no interest, and they don't really understand the dynamics at play as far as investing. I think a lot of it is, culturally, we've never really been taught about investments. A lot of times we think of depreciating assets as investments, but that's not the case.
But Lawrence, have you been taught? But Lawrence, have you been taught that investing is bad? That somehow it's exploiting minorities? Is that what you've been taught?
I think a lot of African Americans, by and large, feel that way. I grew up in public housing for 18 years on welfare, but I knew that obviously there are legitimate ways to make money. I think a lot of times black Americans probably do feel that investments are exploitive to some degree, but I think it's just a matter of misinformation, and that's what we do at our youth organization. We teach these young people. I teach them what I know, things that I'm involved in, and I think it's just a matter of taking priority, because we can't use those excuses anymore why we're behind, because the gap between the haves and the have-nots is getting wider, primarily because of a lack of knowledge and the inability to take risks.
But Lawrence, hey, how you doing? It's Charles.
Yes.
Black people in general, if you listen to for instance, all rap music, they're talking about making money, and athletes and things, they're doing investments. But I think it's a trust factor. And let's be honest, I think a lot of black people are afraid that white people are going to take their money. They've never met this person before. They spoke to him over the phone and steal it from them. I mean, there's still some lingering distrust, and it's racial.
Yes, first of all, Charles, I love you, brother. I love your stance and your position. You know how I feel about that. I think the issue is one of we can't let things like that stop us from getting involved in this game. I tell folks all the time there's a game outside of the game of sports, and a lot of athletes don't really understand that game as far as investments. And when I talk about inner city community as far as building wealth, we have to understand that there's a process involved. It's not a quick fix, and there's a lot at play, and there are a lot of moving parts. And just because there are some bad apples doesn't mean it should stop us from building wealth. And I think if we don't get up to speed on this, we're going to be forever behind as a race.
So you've made money, and I believe you've kept it. You invested.
Yes.
Is your secret spreading it around?
Well, I've been called on the Jim Rome show the cheapest guy in the NBA, but I don't take that as an offense. I welcome that, because obviously growing up, I know the pain of poverty, and I realized that there's a short window, and if I was going to make good on giving back and providing things for other folks, then I had to have my investments there, and I think a lot of athletes, they let somebody handle all of their control, and I think that's a very dangerous thing.
Did you have to say no?
To learn.
Did you have to say no?
You got to say.
I mean, people came to you and said, "Hey, you got money? Give me some." Did it happen?
Absolutely. Obviously, you know that. Obviously, when you have wealth, there's a considerable amount of guilt that people put on you, and in some instances, guilt that you feel as well, that you have a lot and they have little. But I don't feel guilty about that. I don't begrudge anyone who makes more money than me, and I applaud their success. But I think the guilt is something that is very real in the African American community. Hey, you made it. I didn't. You owe me. And I don't like that attitude at all. And I don't like the sentiment in our country when it comes to that as well.
Excellent stuff. Lawrence Funderburke, you're welcome on this program anytime you like. And by the way, cheap is good.
Yes, it is.
Thanks for joining us.